It's the Sunday Cafe with Roman Travers on Magic Talk.
We are only 82 days and 14 hours away from the general election. Crikey, how did that happen? And this year we have two referenda to consider. One is for euthanasia and will be binding, a binding referendum. Caralise Trayes is a New Zealand journalist on the hunt for the truth on this topic, and her new book, The Final Choice, asks that very question. Is assisted dying the answer? Caralise Trayes is with me here on the Sunday Cafe. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
You sound very chirpy for a Sunday. Crikey.
I know. Isn't it a good time to be alive?
Oh, well, very good point indeed. It's always a good time to be alive because the alternative sucks. Tell me about your background.
Sure. So I've had about 10 years experience in journalism with Fairfax Media. I'm a mum of two. I live in North Auckland and somehow got roped into this, threw myself into this issue after a bit of I realised what I didn't know, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to do something about this. So, yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
All right. The book is The Final Choice. Why did you choose to write the book?
Yes, good question. For me, it really started late last year. I was on a freelance job and went to a meeting, and in that meeting, assisted dying actually came up and was discussed, and I came away thinking, wow, I have a lot of questions about this. I knew that we had to vote in the binding referendum, but I didn't know much else. So I started researching myself, and I just came away with so many questions. I talked to a friend about it, and they said, hey, why not go on a personal journey? Why not interview, use your journalistic skills, write a book, and sort of engage with people through your process, help people make a good decision. And so that's how it happened, and that's how I am where I am.
Yeah, 82 days, 14 hours time, we will be making that choice. How important is this decision?
You know, I hate it when people say this, but it really is a decision of life and death for some people. The impact is massive. You speak to anyone in law, the experts I spoke to, they say this is a huge decision. Professor Margaret Somerville from Australia, a bioethicist with 9 doctorates, she says this is one of the biggest decisions we're making in this generation. We're basically saying, is it ever okay for someone to be killed? Are there circumstances that would qualify it a death, a killing? And that's a scary thing to consider.
I've yet to meet not one healthcare professional who agrees with euthanasia. Did you meet any?
Yes, I did. A retired emergency doctor, Dr. Jack Havel. I have to say I found a similar thing in my search. You know, those submissions to the Justice Select Committee when this piece of legislation was going through the parliamentary process, over 90% of the medical, those in the medical field were standing against this, that spoke out against this. So, man, that's got to make you wonder why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. How informed are most people on the End of Life Choice Act or even assisted dying?
Yeah, I think they're probably the same as I was at the beginning of this journey. There's some research, 2017, a poll was done to investigate how much people know, how much Kiwis know. It came back with results, 74% of Kiwis thought that it meant to turn off life support. That's actually already legal. 70% of Kiwis thought it meant it would legalise the choice not to be resuscitated. Again, already legal. Look, there's a lot of information most of us don't know.
No, that's right. And often it comes from a background of religious belief or deep-seated beliefs. I've got a friend, a very good friend, whose wife is in end-stage dementia. She has no life. She has no quality of life, and he just wants her now to pass away quietly. It's a cruel process. David Seymour, the leader of the ACT Party, he believes New Zealanders know exactly what they're doing. I think we've been a little bit distracted with the whole COVID-19 and other matters. I think there's a real opportunity here to educate more people. Will your book do that?
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to promote your own resource, but please read this book. Get equipped. My heart really is for people to have more information How much don't we know? You bring up a couple of issues there. One is those personal stories. We all bring personal stories to this, and that is very much what I found. I've interviewed people that have personal stories. All of us have that gut instinct, but we have to be able to separate that gut instinct from the piece of law that we're looking at so we can make a really good decision. As well, religion, I had the same assumption that maybe everyone in opposition to this would be religious. I found out actually that assumption's not that accurate. There were Christians and Catholics that I interviewed on both sides. If you look at the Justice Select Committee submissions, there's only a small percentage of those that actually made any statement about religion influencing their stance on this. This is really a societal issue we need to engage in, not a religious issue.
I'm speaking with Caralise Trayes, a freelance writer, mother of two, and author of The Final Choice. If you were to walk down Lambton Quay right now and choose 100 people, what do you think the polling would say?
Research shows somewhere between 58 and 74% of people would vote for this. But again, I would just come back and say, why? What do we know? What do we not know? We need to get better education, and it's just so you can make a better decision. We come at this with this expectation that this law would relieve pain and suffering at the end of life. That's the goal, and so we need to assess, is this goal going to be achieved? Will we actually see what we're hoping to see? And yeah, you've got to look at that. Something that just jumped out at me in my research internationally, you look over in the States, some of the states have legalized assisted suicide. It's a form of assisted dying. And of those, why are people choosing this? And it's not what you expect.
Okay, that's interesting. You say that most of us don't know the difference between euthanasia and assisted suicide, which will become legal if we vote yes. Why don't we understand this by now? David Seymour's been banging on about this for ages.
Yeah, I can't speak for David. I have interviewed him in the book. He's made some really good points. He's really lifted this legislation, this piece of law off the ground. But yeah, I think it's the technicality. I think what we are being presented, the information we've been presented from those in favour of this is very simple and simplified. And in some ways, I don't necessarily think it's a true reflection of the questions that we should be asked or be asking. Just to clarify, a euthanasia and assisted suicide are actually the correct terminology on the method that will be used if you choose end of life, if you choose assisted dying. Assisted dying is simply a euphemism that we have chosen to describe the whole process.
Okay. What research was involved with the writing of the book? You've mentioned some of that. What was the process you went through?
Yeah, a lot of late night documentary watching, a lot of reading, and then interviews. So I thought it was a bit of a mess at the start. It's just such a big issue. It touches so many elements of society. It touches law, medical, personal stories, disabled, vulnerable people groups, bioethicists, religious groups. It touches such a wide array. So I just kind of threw myself in and kind of tried to scramble to the top and sort things out into categories. So, research, and then I dove in, looked at the actual piece of legislation first, the process that we got to where we are. Interviewed two people at the either end of the spectrum, so End of Life Choice Society President Mary Pankow, Euthanasia-Free President Renee Jobert, and so they were the two sort of far-ended opinions, and then kind of filled in a whole lot of concepts as I went through. So heaps of people in the book. David Seymour's in the book. Who else? We've got Dr. Sinead Donnelly, Professor Roderick McLeod, who's a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit, Professor Margaret Somerville, Dr. Huhana Hickey, Richard McLeod, Grant Illingworth, who's a QC, the lawyers, James Silverway Smith, a researcher, a professor from the Netherlands, Theo Boer. He's really interesting. He was sitting on a group over in the Netherlands that helped oversee the process over there, so super interesting. And then we have Dr. John Kleinsman, who's from the Nathaniel Centre Catholic Centre, and Professor David Richmond, and Dr. Mustafa Farouk, who's the Muslim Federation of Islamic Association New Zealand. So huge array of people.
Yeah.
They all bring their stories. They all bring their information. It's written in a really readable way. it's a hard topic, but we've got to look at it.
Yeah, the book is The Final Choice. So what conclusion did you come to?
I love it when people ask me that. Who would want to read it if I gave it away? So I'm sorry, no spoiler alert. I'm not telling people what my final choice was or is going to be, but what I will say is, again, the intention is providing information. The intention is equipping people to make the best, most informed decision, having a more rounded perspective, having some true international stats, and having some expert opinion to back up your opinion. So you can get a copy in bookstores, but also on thefinalchoice.nz.
Okay. So it's going to have a wide appeal. It's an incredibly personal decision to be making. I just hope, like you probably, that people are really well informed before ticking yes or no to this, and the book will help with that, no doubt.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Same.
All right. We may have a copy of the book to give away. My producer, John Budge, is just digging around looking for it. It looks like a really good book to me. If you'd like to win a copy of that, just text through euthanasia is a very long keyword. Let's text the word choice. How about that? That's a good word, eh, Caralise?
That's a good word.
All
It
right.
is a good word. Hey, you know what? Give away 2 copies. I'll make sure you have them.
Oh, you are very kind indeed. Gosh, you are. You're just like God. Very, very kind indeed. Caralise Trayes, the author of The Final Choice. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.